I made just shy of 800K a year last year, and here's proof that I actually did that with my bank statements. And today I want to show you exactly what this business model is, because you could be spending your time doom scrolling on Instagram right now. So I appreciate you for clicking on this video. So I want to reward you for that, because I want to show you, number one, how this model helps everyday normal people like me obviously start a business that pays them an extraordinary amount of money. Number two, exactly how I get the clients to actually pay this amount of money. Like, I just want to convince you guys that I'm not selling cocaine on the internet, and it's actually a business model that anyone can really do, to be honest, if you have a good skill set. And then the third thing is how I'm basically automating this business to really only work like 3-4 hours a day and spend time to make videos like this. And then the final thing is how all my students have been able to get results like this. There's just so many of them. It's probably covering the screen right now and you guys are probably getting annoyed. So I'm gonna stop yapping and get into the video. So what actually pays me 700K a year to do on the internet without selling drugs or scamming people? That's the most important thing that people want to understand, and I'm going to bring that to you today in this video. So I'm wearing a Lacoste shirt because someone told me that you look a lot more premium if you do that, so I'm doing that today. I've been reading the comments and a lot of you guys have been saying some cool things about the business, the videos that I've been recently making. So we're going to be doing a lot more of them, and this one is going to be extremely informative because I made sure that when you do connect all the pieces, you're gonna really realize how simple this business is really to start and how easy it is to actually scale it to the point where you're making over $500,000 a month without even $500,000 a month, to be honest, or $500,000 a year. I think that's where most people want to get to without having to start anything super complicated. So what is the business model? Like, how am I doing this? What exactly am I selling? So I am selling something called consulting, and consulting is just a fancy way of telling people what to do to get a result that they want. So there's loads of people online that would be willing to pay you for information to help them get to where they want to be. And depending on how important this information is or how important this outcome or result is, they will be willing to pay you an extreme amount of money. It doesn't really matter your skill set or how qualified you say you are. It doesn't really matter about your PhD or your master's degree. Anyone can kind of do this, and anyone can kind of say it's a consultant, which is a good and a bad thing if you look at it, but it's a good thing for you because it actually makes you realize that you don't have to be this overqualified person to do it. You just have to be able to say, hey, you want an outcome, which is over here. I will help you get to this outcome, and I'm going to do that via speaking to you and giving you information, tools, and resources to help you get to this outcome. So this outcome can literally be anything. It could be getting in shape. It could be pretty much teaching them a skill set. It could be helping them get into sales. It could be helping them walk their dog better or make money doing it. So pretty much you have to make this outcome very specific and go after a specific type of person that will be willing to pay you a lot of money for this. Now, this sounds like basic shit. Of course, like that's what business is. You solve a problem, you get paid for it. The thing that people get wrong though is they really forget about the problem and the person they're trying to sell it to, because the reason why there's people that do consulting and get paid literally only a couple bucks an hour versus the people that get almost like 5,000, 10,000, or like even sometimes 30,000 or 25,000 like per client, it's because of the outcome they're solving and who they're selling it to. Because the perception of how deep the problem is very dependent on who you're selling to, okay? So let me give you an example. Someone who has 2 dogs and they need them to be walked might feel like the service is valued at only 20 bucks an hour. Like, I'm only gonna pay you 20 bucks an hour to walk my dog. To some of you guys, that may be like crazy. I don't have a dog, so I don't know what the hell you guys be paying for that type of service. So if they're paying 20 bucks, someone else might value that time at 100 bucks an hour to walk the dogs. Maybe they have super expensive dogs. You know the dogs that have like the flipping, it's like the, you know these ones that have like the like long ass like hair, like the almost like balls, like these ones here. They have like really big cheeks as well too. So maybe the person you're walking the dog has like 5 of these dogs, and they're like, hey, I'll pay you 100 bucks an hour to do it. It might be the same type of dog and the same type of person, but people are going to value it differently depending on the situation that you're in. So you need to realize that consulting is extremely subjective to who you're selling to. So you want to ideally pivot your service or pivot your outcome to someone that values it a lot higher, because it's extremely subjective. I could sell something for $5,000 to $10,000 or $12,000, which is around about where I usually work with people at. And someone else completely in a different world might look at that and be like, you are insane. No one will ever pay you that. But haha, kudos to you. I made 700K last year. I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that to be like, it's subjective, because there are people that tell me that every single time that what you're doing is not as valuable as you might think. And you might think that as well too. You might be under the impression that what you are selling is not as valuable as you might think. You might think I can only charge $5,000. I can only charge like 1K, $500, $300. I spoke to someone else charging like $300 for something that my clients are charging $5,000 for. And the only thing that they have to prove their thought pattern is when I spoke to other people, they said that they wouldn't pay this amount, and this is the amount that I thought made sense. This is the amount that I thought was reasonable. But that's the problem. You were selling something that is reasonable. So how do you expect to make a reasonable amount of money when you're reasonably thinking about something, about business, about your prices, about everything? Doesn't really work, does it? So you have to be unreasonable about the types of people and the outcome you're providing, because you will find people that will be willing to pay you that. So the way that I started my consulting business, and this kind of ties into everything else I'm going to show you later in this video, because once you have the outcome and the type of person that you want to go after, everything else that you implement, finding the clients, setting up the business, automating it, becomes extremely easy. When I mean extremely easy, I mean extremely easy, to the point where you're like, what am I even doing? How am I making all this amount of money? I basically sat down and I was like, I need to figure out an outcome that people would be willing to pay a lot of money for. And then I need to go after people who see the same value in that outcome, and they see the value in the price. So what most people do when they want to start a business is they look at, okay, cool, what are other people doing? What are other people charging? I'm going to do something similar or try undercut the price. But they don't realize that there's a layer deeper than that, which the layer is who you're actually going after, which the main thing, and which is going to extremely skew how much you can actually charge. Who are you going after? What is your messaging? How are you portraying the value? These are things that are going to influence how much you can charge over here. So when I start any sort of business, I always like to ask myself, who do I want to go after that's going to be willing to pay me this amount of money? If you guys are selling to mothers that want to get in shape, who can you go after that has that amount of money and sees the value in getting in shape? What type of messaging do you need to say to trigger them realizing how deep the problem actually is? And then once you can get really good at, it's almost like a science, to be honest. You can pretty much sell anything at any price, because one thing I want you guys to really understand, price is extremely subjective. All of you guys have such a limiting belief around charging a lot of money because you don't think what you're offering is worth that amount of money. But that is only dependent on the experiences and the people that you've spoken to, because I can tell you that people pay extraordinary amounts of money for different types of things. You just need to know how to go after those types of people and how to speak to them. If you can do that, everything else just becomes a lot easier. So that's why I always go after people who want to start these types of businesses, because I can speak to them and explain how insanely profitable this model is. So as a result, it doesn't really feel weird to charge them an amount of money that can actually help them get there, because they realize how much money they can make as well too. So because I make the outcome so great of, like, let's say 50 to 100K a year, a month, people don't see it unreasonable to pay 10 to 12 grand to potentially get there. That's one thing. You can obviously talk about outcomes, you can talk about savings, you can talk about gains. If you are not selling something that is monetary based, you can talk about the specific impacts that it might have in their life. So for example, if I was selling mindset, for example, and I was going to try help people with their trauma or something like that, like people who are healing, I can just really prey on the fact of how hard it is to basically just like live a life with this weight on your shoulders that's not going, because it's gonna affect your relationships, your life, your family, your kids, whatever. We had a client that did over, I think, like 270K, I'll put it on the screen somewhere around here, with a trauma healing coaching offer in the Finnish market. A market that I can't even speak the language. I went to Finland to do the interview with the kids that ran up the offer to like 250K, because they were like the business partners. And I couldn't even understand what people were saying at the airport. But that offer was able to do that amount of money in a niche that you might think doesn't have a lot of money, because I know so many trauma and healing coaches or like manifestation spiritual coaches that are like, my niche can't pay me that much money, it's impossible. But surprise, surprise, people are doing it because they're going after people who can afford it and see the problem is great. But it's your responsibility to know who that is and to go after those people, because the algorithm's not going to do that for you unless you know what you're doing. So that's why it ties into where I'm going to talk about next, which is once you figure out who you want to be going after, how do you actually go after that type of person that would be willing to pay you an extraordinary amount of money? And you do this very easily because people have this misconception that you have to be like super sneaky, or you have to spend loads of money on ads, or if you're not doing it correct, you have to like do some weird stuff, like maybe go up to them in person or like find them at the right place at the right time. The bottom line is you probably think those types of people are scarce. They're like the top 1% of people. And I'm about to break that belief and that paradigm by showing you guys one thing that completely changed the way I looked at business and the way that I looked at life. So, in any sort of industry, you have different layers of like where people are at. So let's call these layers awareness, okay? This is a very important thing because once you can understand awareness, you can quite literally attract anyone that you want at any sort of level, no matter what you are selling, okay? I don't care if you're selling the most woo-woo spiritual stuff, or I don't care if you're selling the most practical thing, you can attract these types of people. So there's something called market awareness. I spoke about this in previous videos, but I want to bring over it again. What market awareness is how aware your market is about a specific solution or problem that they have, okay? So problem / solution. So these are two different things. And if you, guys, there's nothing more important than this when it comes to building any sort of business, because this is quite literally going to dictate how much you can charge and how easy it's going to be to scale your business. So really pay attention to this, because I don't see a lot of people talking about this in depth. Your market awareness is directly influenced by how people perceive the problem and the solution that they have in your market. So every single market has different awareness levels. So I will start with the most common one, which is the unaware people. So unaware people quite literally do not know what the problems are, okay? They don't know who you are. They don't know what the problems are. Even though they might have the problems, they just don't know, okay? These are the people that make up majority of markets sometimes, okay? So now you have unaware, problem aware people. You have aware. So aware basically means the guys who kind of know a little bit about what you're doing. They've seen you before, but they're not really aware about whatever. So now you have problem aware people. So problem aware people are guys who know what their problems are. So to give you an example of a problem aware person in any sort of niche, I could give you, let's say, fitness coaching, for example. They know that they feel tired every day, they feel bloated, or like, let's say health coaching, they feel bloated, they feel lethargic, they don't feel good every single day, they have a lack of energy, and they know it's something that is deal with the body, but they just don't know what it is. That's an example of a problem aware person. After problem aware, you have solution aware. So solution aware people are guys who kind of know what solutions are. They're trying to pick about what type of solution makes the most sense for their situation. What I mean by this is, if someone feels, let's say, lethargic, sick, or tired, they might have done some research and pinpointed down to, because they're not eating the right foods every single day, they're eating a bunch of junk food, they're feeling a bit tired, lethargic, all that type of stuff. So they've pinpointed it to specifically my diet. And then they might pinpoint it to maybe something around their exercise or the blood work. It could be a bunch of different things. They are aware of the solutions to the specific problem because they've actually spent time in their research. And then once you have the solution aware people, then underneath that, you have the most aware. So the most aware people, kind of annoying. They know everything. They know the solutions. They know the people providing the solutions. They know the different things. And at this point, it's really just like, who has the best offer and who do I want to work with? Now, here's the fun part. Oh, my marker fell. I don't care. Here's the fun part about all of this stuff. Each specific stage in the business, in like a customer life cycle, exists. There is people in quite literally every single awareness level that you can think of. There's people who are problem aware, solution aware, unaware, there's more awareness levels, but this is like this most simplified version I can make to you guys to explain the concept I want to give to you. Each stage has different amounts of quality of people that will be willing to pay you an extraordinary amount of money, and each stage has to be marketed to differently. The way that I would market to someone who's problem aware is not going to be the same way that I would market to someone who is solution aware. What do I mean by this? If someone has a problem, let's say the problem is they just feel lethargic. I'm going to talk more about the feelings rather than the actual solution to attract them into working with me, because I want to present to them as someone that understands their problems and understands why they're paying me. Why do I want to do this? I'm going to explain a little bit later. Same thing with solution aware. Different thing with solution aware. If I am solution aware, I kind of know what problems I'm facing. I know that it's something to do with my diet, something to do with my exercises. I just don't know which solution it is that I want to go after. So here, the marketing tactics that I'm going to use is going to be comparing different solutions to each type of person to understand exactly what you feel like you would need and make my solution feel like the best. So the reason why we are doing this way is because the awareness level is going to dictate a type of ICP, a type of persona that we have, because we want to go after, people say ICP, people say like dream person. I like to call it a persona, persona reference. So a persona is a type of person. It's like a cluster of like persons. So I could say a persona could be 21-year-old male, feels lethargic, doesn't know why, hasn't tried anything to fix it, or hasn't been successful. That could be my persona of people. And I can then say this persona is the easiest to convince. This persona listens to my advice a lot more easier. This persona is more willing to actually try different things because they are not in over the head of like a specific type of strategy. So this persona is more likely to pay you more money. Same thing with different types of things. So solution-aware people. Solution-aware people, maybe they've already actually put money into trying to fix the problem of feeling lethargic or feeling tired. So these types of people would be actually willing to hop on a call with you and hear out your solutions and figure out which one is better. If let's say you have a solution that is completely better than everything else in the market, you want to be potentially going after these types of people because they already know all the solutions out there. And if you can somehow convince them that your solution is better, you just go over here and they want to pay you. But if you market to them that like they're a 5-year-old kid and you're saying like, hey, I know you're struggling with this, blah, blah, blah. It's like they already know this stuff. So it's not going to resonate with them. And then the same thing with the most aware people. So with the most aware people, these people already know everything. They just want to go with the best person or the person that they resonate with the most. So with these people, the best way that you can market to them is by showing results, by showing how you help people, and like by showing why your solutions are way better than everything else in the market. You can show them, you can kind of convince them by giving them like discounts or promos, or by making your thing feel like it's a lot better than everything else and it's better money for value than everything else out there. This is where a lot of people sit at, and where a lot of money is also made as well too, because these are the people who already have the money. They don't need to be convinced about investing. They just want to do something that actually makes sense for themselves. So this is where it gets extremely fun. Now, once you have a persona, a type of person that you want to go after, and you've looked at what awareness level they're at, you can now start asking yourself the question, which groups of people would be willing to pay me the most amount of money? Is it the people who don't know what their problems are and they've never invested in any sort of money before? Most likely, yes or no, it doesn't really matter. You can test. Is it going to be solution-aware people who've already tried different products, who've already paid other people before but they didn't get the results? Is it those types of people? Is it the most aware people who've paid everyone? They've tried everything. And then somehow you're going to be the magic in their life to help them get from where they are right now to where they want to be, and they're willing to pay that amount of money. You can test and you can gauge your marketing to go after this specific type of person that is going to be that's going to have this specific type of persona, and it's going to make you so different compared to everyone else because your marketing is going to be so specifically focused. So, and the big takeaway that I want you guys to have here is the awareness level is going to dictate how you do everything else. It's going to dictate your marketing, it's going to dictate your sales strategy, it's going to dictate everything. So you need to understand what that is. And if you don't know what that is at a glance, that's fine as well too. You can test out different awareness levels. You can test talking about the solution on Instagram and see what types of people respond. You can test talking about the pain points and see what types of people respond. And then from there, you can then gauge who do you want to go after that's going to pay you the most amount of money. For me, in my business, I realized that the people who pay me the most amount of money are somewhere around here. Maybe some people around here, but it's somewhere around here. So I focus my marketing and my efforts around people who already know that they want to start a business and they want to do something. And they're just exploring different solutions, probably like what you're doing right now, exploring different solutions to be able to scale your business. So I'm not going to talk to you like you're 5 years old and tell you, hey, this is the opportunity that's going to retire your parents, make you so rich and make you live in a Lamborghini. I'm sure you're tired of going to that work in 9 to 5 and just clocking in, clocking out. No, making a lot of money. It's like you're going to think I'm a fucking retard. Like, I'm sorry for the, I'm not even sorry. Like, that's the truth. That's what you're going to look at me and think. I'm going to be like, what is this guy trying to do? And it's going to attract a completely different ICP to the type of people who are watching this video right now, which I would imagine are extremely intelligent human beings. See, I give you guys compliments. So instead of me going after people who just want to start a business or just like kind of being like, hey, like, not obviously there's people that want to start businesses, but going after people who just like love the idea of it and they're just exploring it, like not people who know that they actually want to do it. I cut out majority of people who would be bad quality, at least to my standards, and I go after the people who I believe are willing to actually invest and have the most amount of money to do it, which are over around here. So that's the same decision that you need to make. It doesn't really matter. There's no right or wrong awareness level. There's only an awareness level that you want to target and makes you the most amount of money. So once you know what that is, now you have your outcome, and then you have your persona, and then you have the awareness of the persona. So this is the part that most people skip, because I've noticed every time people make these types of videos, they're like, oh yeah, go after, what is it called? Just find a problem and, you know, figure out the problem. People pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not how it works, mate. There's a little bit more steps to go into it, which is understanding what type of awareness and marketing you have to do. Because now that you know, okay, cool, you have a problem. You've seen people pay tons of money to it, whether that's to you or to someone else, and you want to replicate that, you need to reverse engineer it and go after the specific persona that will pay you that amount of money, and that comes from understanding the awareness level. So now that you know those things, you know your, let's start over here, you know your outcome. I didn't spell it correctly. You know your persona, you know your awareness levels. Here is all you need to be able to start your coaching business, because coaching businesses kind of follow a very chronological order. They're kind of the same types of businesses, okay, like consulting, whatever. They always start from the top part over here. And then once this top part is kind of like configured, here you get into the actual traffic, okay? Getting into generating people who fit this specific thing, who want this thing. So people who are in here and here who want this outcome, okay? So you want people who fit this entire persona, who are in this awareness level, who want this outcome. Now, once you have that, you can now focus on generating traffic towards these people. But then once you have your traffic in place, you then need to have something else, which I like to call your funnel. So the funnel is kind of like how you're going to, where you're going to direct all this traffic to, okay? So it could be your Instagram. It could be a page that has like a video explaining what you can do. By the way, if you guys want to know exactly how to help people scale consulting businesses, there's going to be a link down below. So it's a 5-minute video. You can watch that. Helps you show you how to make a lot of people a lot of money. Anyways, you have your funnel. And then right after you have your funnel, you have something called your sales process. So your sales process could be anything. It could be people going on a link and buying something on the link. It could be people, I don't know, like booking a call, for example, or it could be people talking to you on like the phone or like DMing you on Instagram. A sales process is just a way of conveying value. It doesn't really matter how you convey the value. It just means how do you convey the value. So don't get too caught up in having a perfect sales process. It's something that improves over time. Once you have your sales process in place, you have something called the onboarding. So This is how you get people to experience what they paid for. It's important you do this because if you don't do this, you are a scammer. You have to onboard people and get them the actual product that they paid for. And then once onboardment is in there, you need fulfillment. So you need to actually fulfill on what the outcome that you promised them is going to be. So that outcome could be, I don't know, losing weight. It could be getting healed. It could be fixing their trauma. It could be, I don't know, making them a shit ton of money like I do for all my clients. It could be a bunch of those things. And then once your fulfillment is there, it then goes back to something that I like to call your feedback loops. So feedback loop. And what this is basically using the results that you get from your fulfillment to go back over here and reset it at the start. So now that you get good fulfillment, you have good case studies, use those case studies to then go attract more people that fit this awareness level and persona and want the same outcome that you are providing. So this is like a rough structure with my excellent drawings, by the way, explaining exactly how these coaching businesses and consulting businesses work. They always follow this chronological order. So the important thing is that you can't skip steps. And this is why I see a lot of people skip steps. They start from, I don't know, they start from traffic first before they figure out these things. People say, hey, just make a bunch of videos without just spray balling and just figure it out, figure out your niche. It doesn't work like that because like I said, it's chronological order. If you start here, you miss out all the steps over here and then you end up just not knowing what the fuck you're doing. Same thing over here. People start with your funnel. They start building out funnels on websites before they even know who they're going after. Like, why do you have a website? If you don't know who you're going after, it doesn't make any sense. Why? Like, genuinely, why? Like, I see a lot of people have like 3 different types of people they're going after on their websites because they don't know who they're trying to target. It's a funny world that we live in. Then your sales process. You can't just start from your sales process because you need leads, obviously. But that's like the breakdown of it. So in order for you to understand how to do the traffic, in order to do traffic well, you need to understand these things. So how do you do traffic well? Now that you understand this, how do you get people who would be willing to pay you that amount of money once you understand your awareness level? So I'm going to like cover all these ones down here and use the space that we have to explain a little bit about traffic, a little bit about the myth of traffic that people don't have enough traffic to scale their coaching business. So if you have more eyeballs and your messaging is clear, you generally make more money, okay? Attention is the new currency, the Alex Hormozi saying. That's what tends to happen, usually. So you don't want to be in a situation where you get a bunch of shitty attention and it's not the types of people that would be willing to pay you money. So that's why it's important you understand these things because you're going to be making content specifically for these types of people. So once you have your persona and you know exactly who you're trying to target, the best thing that you can do is basically just make organic videos going after these types of people. And if those videos are not working the way that you want to work, I just want to be honest with you, it's because you don't know how to do content. Most of the time, you can recreate other people's videos that are doing extremely well in your niche and you make a shit ton of money. I'll show you an example. I had a guy who hopped on the call with me, guitar coaching offer. It helps people play the guitar better. And he was basically just spray paint. He didn't have any idea of any of this stuff over here that I spoke about. And I had a consulting call because sometimes I do like hourly consulting calls if you like message me on Instagram and stuff. And he was like, hey bro, like I'm trying to like scale this, but I'm not getting enough. I was like, bro, like you have enough leads. You get a ton of traffic. He had like maybe, I think like 8K followers, but he was getting like 5 to 6K views per video. And I was like, you don't have a content strategy. If I go in your niche right now, there are people that are doing the exact same thing that you're doing, but getting hundreds of thousands of views because your videos are so broad. It's a broad thing that you're talking about. So you need to make broad content. So all I told him to start doing is research other people, like literally go on your competitors, find the videos that have done well for them and recreate them in your own way, and it did well. And then here's a screenshot of him literally saying that he got like 20, almost like 30,000 views just from doing that, from the first video that I told him to do. So traffic is never really an issue if you understand content. So that's why we have a sector in our program where it's like we literally focus on giving you weekly content ideas, specifically in your niche of what videos are performing every single week. So we tell you how to go about it. But if for whatever reason, the content gods aren't blessing you, you're still stuck at 200 views per video, it's probably because of a couple things. You might be fucked by the IG Instagram. But not fucked in the sense of like you can't do anything, because I'm going to show you a way to get a lot of traffic without having to rely on Instagram blessing you or not. I've seen situations like this where people's accounts genuinely just don't get reached because they've been making so much bad content and they've given Instagram bad signals for a very long time that it just doesn't work for them and they have to make new accounts. I'll give you proof of this because I had a creator, he had a mindset coaching offer and he was making horrible content and he started running ads with like barely any following and his account just got nuked. Like every video, even though it was following the principles of what makes a viral video do well that I implemented for myself, it was just not working for him. I was like, damn, bro, I might just bad at my job. But then he made a new new Instagram account and then all the videos started popping off. So that is a thing. Other two, your content might just be bad. What I mean by this is that you might have had some videos do really well or get above that threshold of that way you've been stuck in, but you haven't been able to consistently break out of it. So your content might just honestly suck. 80% of the time, it's really this. 80% of the time. So you fix that by obviously just recreating and doing stuff that's proven and by making the right hooks on the right viral videos in the right place. Not trying to be a dancing person that's just going to be like twerking on Instagram. No, I'm talking about recreating videos in a way that gets the ICP that you want. So there's a specific science of doing that. I'll probably make a video about it, but that's what you have to do. If that's not working for you, the next best thing that you need to do is to just buy traffic. None of you guys should have a traffic problem ever because traffic is it's such a commodity. It's like buying bananas at a store. It's like you can go there and just buy it. It's like, it's not crazy at all. You know what I mean? But most of you guys have this perception that, hey, in order to basically like, get traffic and to get consistent people, it's like, I have to be super good at content. I have to be, no, you don't. You can actually just go to the store, which is hello, Facebook and Instagram, and be like, hey guys, I need some traffic here, please. Can I get some? Can I get some of that? Can I get some of those eyeballs? Can I get some of those 10,000 eyeballs over here? And they'll be like, okay, cool. You want 10,000 eyeballs? Give me $500. Boom. You direct that traffic to a funnel. Money can start to appear. So you need to look at it from this perspective because this is the real game. This is where the actual money is made because if you can understand advertisements and you can understand how to get really good at it, this whole process is going to be so simple. And if you're like, hey, I don't have money to spend on my business, it's like, why are you running a business then? It's like, it takes money to make money. I'm sorry, we don't live in a fairy tale, guys. It's like, that's just the game. If you want to be able to like actually scale this stuff to the moon and get it to the point where it's making 50 to 100 grand a month, if you're telling me you can't invest 500 or 1,000 on ads or like whatever you need to invest on ads, and you're telling me with your own eyes and your own mouth that you want to get to 50 to 100K a month, I'm just going to think that you're just, I don't know what to say to you. You have to invest money into this because that's the only way that you can get it to the point where it can consistently get a specific amount of traffic that's not reliant on you having to do well organically. Because the organic grind is a trek, guys. It's like, it's hard. You have to consistently make videos. You have to consistently be out there. You have to consistently edit. You have to consistently make iteration over iteration. And if you don't know what you're doing and if you don't have guidance, it's a grind to get to your first couple of videos that do really well. So you can skip that grind by just paying to win. Like just with everything in life, everything is just pay to win. If you want to get to that next level, you pay for it and you get to that next level. I paid over like $60,000 in mentorships, like as of recording this right now. And I'm still doing more. I bought another one the other day. It's because I understand pay to win. You speed up the process by buying traffic. So traffic should never be an issue if we live in a world where you can literally just go buy it. If we live in a world where people can make a shout out and you can get 100,000 followers on your page. If we live in a world where people can promote you and you can do collaboration posts and you can get an extra 50,000 eyeballs on your stuff. If we live in a world where it's such a commodity to get these vanity metrics, why are you thinking that it's such a hard thing to grab? The reason why you think it's hard is because you're making it hard for yourself. So what's happening is subconsciously, you're not actually providing the opportunities to make it easy for yourself. So what ends up happening is you go down the hard route of doing all the things that don't work and all the things that fail. And then you start telling me that, hey, my content's not working because your mindset around content is subconsciously programming you to make you feel like it's not going to work anyways. So how do you expect it to work? I can't turn water into wine if you don't even believe that you can actually make it out in the first place. So that's the biggest thing that I keep seeing a lot of people who mess themselves up is they keep telling me that it's not going to work when I've literally seen people get hundreds of thousands of views overnight. What's the difference between you and them? The difference between me and you, we are normal human beings. We just think differently. We're in different worlds. So start looking at it from my world and you're going to realize how simple it is. Because I made $85,000, guys, with less than 12,000 followers. I know guys that have hundreds of thousands of followers that don't even make that amount of money. So if the traffic was so important, why are they making Zero. And why am I making all this money? It's because I understand what type of traffic I need to go after, and I understand that there is an abundance of it. I can get as much of it as I want. If I wanted to get 100,000 views on my videos tomorrow, I can give Facebook 10 grand and I will get it. It's that simple. Obviously, that's not the best sort of, I guess, way of conveying the CPM, because it doesn't really cost 10 grand to get 100K. I'm not gonna explain it, but you get the point, okay? You can buy it. So buy traffic or get good at making content. Once you get good at that, you wanna direct it to a funnel. Ideally, the funnel should be dependent on your person's awareness levels. So if someone is in an awareness level where they are maybe problem aware, your funnel should probably have a little bit more storytelling. What I mean by this, and this is the fun part, this is why I said everything ties into each other. Because once you know all of this stuff, everything else just becomes easier and common sense. For example, if I am going after someone that is very aware, most aware, I don't need to be showing them a lot of proof and a lot of storytelling around how I started this business, how I came from Nigeria to the UK, and how I struggled for a very long years. Most of you guys, yes, you care about that, but you also don't really care about that as well too, because you want to see how I can help you make more money. So I don't need to focus on that. I can focus on more so specifically the results on my testimonials. So that's why when you click on my funnel, my page, I just have a video and testimonials, because I know what people care about. And the video is very short, it's like 5 minutes. You guys can check it out if you want to check it out as well too. Because I know my audience extremely well. I know that you guys don't really care about all the long text about everything else, because it's not going to actually help you, you know? A general rule of thumb when you're trying to figure out what type of funnel you want to use is pretty much to do it based on the awareness levels. So basically, this is like a spectrum that I'm about to draw here. So the less aware they are, the more information you need to convey. So what I mean by this is, if let's say they are I'm gonna use aware as something, I'm gonna do problem aware, I'm gonna do solution aware, and then I'm gonna do most aware. Hope you guys can see that. So here, what I want you guys to realize is the aware people always need more information. So on this spectrum, you need more info, and then this spectrum is less info. So what I mean by that is, it's not like you don't have to provide any sort of information. I don't want you to go around thinking that, hey, I'm just gonna be fucking just telling them nothing. No, what I mean by this is, if they are aware, you need a funnel and you need a system that kind of portrays more information. What I mean by that is, you can have a longer VSL, you can have a longer landing page that explains a little bit more stuff. You can run a webinar funnel, for example. You can run things that kind of explain the next things that people need to do to get there, because it works really, really well for, let's say, things where you're going to be explaining a lot of different topics. I broke it down in one of my videos actually, that the types of funnels that you want to specifically use, there's so many that you can use, guys. So it's not, I can't give you an exact criteria, but I'll give you examples. For example, with most aware funnels, I would probably, aware people, I'd probably do webinars, long VSLs, long sales letters, things like that are just longer, because you want them to consume more information, because you want them to be caught up with you, and you're most likely the only reason why they're interested in the thing in the first place. So they're learning directly from you. So that's kind of what I like to do over here, long form for my videos. For problem aware people, you want to also do the same thing, but more focused about the feeling, about the problem, because they're already aware about it. Solution aware people, this is where you start to get into the realm of less information actually can help you make more money. What I mean by that is, you don't really need to provide them with an entire crazy long ass webinar that's going to explain how your solution can help them, because they most likely already know what the solutions are. They just want to know which one is the best one for me and my situation. So you can kind of skip the whole crazy information part over here. Most aware people, you don't even need to bother. Like I said earlier, my landing page is literally just 5 minutes, and there's a couple testimonials you guys can make with the information I've given to you, because I'm trying to convey that I know what I'm doing and I have the best results. So that's kind of what I'm trying to structure over there. So I don't really need to give as much information, and it works in my favor. So this is why it's so important to run this thing at the start here, because the issue I see so many people have is they keep asking me questions about funnels they need to run, ads they need to make, sales process they need to make, but it all becomes common sense once you know the awareness levels. So that's why I always start with that first before I do anything else, because that just makes my life a lot easier in order to tell you what you guys need to focus on, okay? So that's what I would do over there. So figure out your funnel. And then once you figure out your funnel, now you need to figure out your sales process. Like, how are you going to actually get these people to pay you this amount of money? So once you're speaking to the problem, once you have traffic, once you have a funnel, now how do you get people to actually convert and pay the amount of money that you want to be paid? So you do that by having a really good sales process. And the sales process is just a way of conveying value. It doesn't really mean that you have to basically do it one way or the other, because I know so many people that have so many different sales processes. I know guys who do DM closes. I know guys who hop on, sales calls and have conversations with them. I know guys that don't even like doing any sales calls. They just like send you to a landing page and they just make you purchase something for 5,000 USD. So any sales thing can work. It really just depends on how can you portray the value in the right way. So I like to do sales calls because I think it's just a good way to provide trust, and it also just makes things a lot easier for you as well too. I don't like even calling them sales calls. I'd rather say the consultation calls, because I more so than anything give them advice on what they need to do in their situation and show them how I can help them. Because the whole goal of this call is, people think sales calls are such a scary thing where it's like, hey, you're gonna hop on and you're gonna hard sell them. Not really at all. I don't do that at all. Never really done that. I just tell people, hey, this is how I can potentially help you. This is what problem you're facing with. If you want my help, this is how I can potentially help you, and this is what I can do to help their situation. That's it. And then they're the ones to decide if they want the help or not. You might have situations where people kind of get in their own way, or they give you like an objection or a reason why they can't start right now, and sometimes you might be able to tell that's not true. That's when you get into the realms of objection handling. But the main thing is, don't get under the impression that you're trying to make people buy stuff that they don't actually need. People are hopping on calls with you if they got to the stage because they actually need the product, they actually need the help. So don't fall into the trap thinking that you need to sell stuff that people don't actually need, because people get so, I guess, like weirded out when they feel like, oh, I have to handle objections. I wish people just hop on knowing exactly what they knew. Let me tell you something that actually changed my perspective on that, because people are basically their own worst enemies. Okay, what I mean by that is, people will self-sabotage themselves to not get to a certain stage because they feel like where they're currently at right now is okay. What I mean by that is, you will have people who are clearly, let's say for example, let's just say people want to get into shape, overweight. Let's just say 300 kg. I don't think that's impossible. Let's say huge, overweight, and they know they need to fix it. But then you're on a sales call with them and they're giving you excuses about why they haven't been able to do it and they don't think it's the right time. Then you could say, okay, cool. You hopped on this call with me. I didn't force you to do it. You went out of your way to do it. And you're now telling me that you don't need the help. Then it makes sense to actually come in and be like, all right, cool, let me objection handle. Let me tell you why you should change this. But you can't do this for someone that's like, hey, I don't actually find any sort of value in your product. I don't think I want to buy it. Then you're scamming them and you don't want to do that, okay? So focus on making sure that you hop on with people who need the product and hop on with people who are actually willing to invest. All I do is I just make it transparent and I'm just upfront about what the call is and what the intentions are going to be behind it. And people are okay with that. Don't try to trick people, because this is where people make the mistake of like, oh, people hop on calls and they don't realize they have to invest. No shit. What did you tell them before the call? How did you frame it? How's your content been framed? How have you spoken to the awareness level? How did you like present yourself on the call? How did you start the call? These are things that influence what people say about your calls. And people always tell me that, oh, I can't close calls, or I'm afraid of closing deals. But it's because it's like you're looking at it from the wrong way. It's people hop on calls because they have a need for something. No one's gonna go out of the way, sit down, schedule a call, and then actually show up to the call. And you're telling me they don't actually need help? That's crazy. Okay, so look at it from that perspective. So one thing I didn't touch on was, how much time does it actually take to invest into something like this to be able to obviously make a lot of money? And the thing about the time they have to invest into this is very dependent on what you're trying to do, because you might have a situation where you are running, I don't know, one-on-one calls, group calls, and you're doing everything when it comes to marketing, sales. It's because it's all dependent on you. So initially you're going to have to spend a lot of time, but once you get to the point where you have a lot of money or resources, not even a lot, you just have some money, you can actually outsource a lot of this work and actually remove yourself from the business and build systems to not make you spend as much time to be able to scale the business itself. So what I do for myself to be able to get to this point is I basically built a team structure and build systems around me to make sure that I don't work long hours. So that's the reason why I truly only work 4 or 5 hours a day. And I'll explain, because I only work on the most highest leverage tasks. For me, my highest leverage task is having conversations with people who are interested in my product, and basically marketing my product and fulfilling for my clients. So as long as my day is consistent of that, everything else can be outsourced or given to someone that can help me do that side of the business at a much better rate than me, because they are spending most of the time doing that specific thing. So I'll give you an example. There's obviously lots of different things here. So let's say, for example, traffic. If you want to be able to scale this, you're going to be spending, I don't know, maybe a couple hours a week on videos. Then when it comes to like sales, you might be spending a couple hours a week there, having conversation with people, talking to them. Then when it comes to fulfillment, you're also spending time with your clients and stuff. It's a lot of work if you are doing it by yourself. So that's why you need to hire the right types of people for certain things. I always like to hire using I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's the Dan Martell like hiring ladder. I always like to use that. It's quite a good book actually. But he has a ladder where it's like, main thing that you want to obviously outsource first is you want to outsource the admin, and you want to outsource all the specific like things that come to your day to day. So admin in the sense of like responding to conversations, for example, or maybe like responding to emails, or maybe like scheduling people, doing just like the basic things in your business and in your life. You kind of want to start there. Once you've started there, next best thing you can do is you can actually start outsourcing the delivery. So the delivery of your service, that's the most important thing, because obviously that's what people are paying you for. So that's the thing that has to actually be streamlined before you scale your marketing and your sales. People do it the other way. They do it backwards, where they scale the marketing and the sales, but the fulfillment remains the same. And then what happens is when you scale, your fulfillment breaks, and then people are not getting results, people are not happy, and people go for refunds and chargebacks because you're not doing what you tell them that you're going to help them do. So you don't want to be in that situation. It's not a fun place to be in. So once you outsource that delivery and the marketing stuff, then you can start going into actually outsourcing stuff about your marketing. Then you can start going into maybe your sales. Maybe you can start going into your marketing, like your campaigns. And then once you've got to that point, this is typically at the point where you're above 100% a million a year, like 1,000% you're above a million a year. You then have people helping you with leadership. So like leading the people underneath you, and then you're just kind of like managing the leader, and it becomes a really fun thing. Most of you guys don't have to get to that point to be able to make 30 to 50 grand a month. You don't need that. You just really and truly need probably the last two, which is like your delivery and your admin. So I like to basically outsource delivery, but not necessarily giving it all the work of fulfillment to someone else, but just by getting assistance, by number one, getting the CSM. And your CSM can typically be like your best performing client or your best performing student that's just willing to help out other student. All they're doing, a CSM is a client success manager. They're just responsible for making sure that people are getting results, and they're incentivized for client success. What I mean by that is incentivized by client success. You want to make them feel like they are basically getting paid to make sure that clients do really, really well. So that way their incentives are aligned with your clients' incentives as well too. So I have two actually, and they are responsible for making sure that anytime someone joins the program, they have the best experience, they get the best results, and they're happy with everything. We check in with them literally almost like every single day, every single week, and I have conversations with them. They can book on my calendar any sort of time. They can hop on, like literally in my program, you can book on my calendar anytime, by the way. Like you can talk to me as much as you want. You can annoy the shit out of me, because I want people to get the results that you want. Same thing with the group itself. The group itself is a decent size. It's like 60, 70 people. But because it's not like crazy, like 500 plus people, it's a nice community. People are trying to help other people. And because they know what it takes to actually join my program, they know that if you're in there, you're serious, and like you're actually someone that really wants to get to that next level. So they respect you as well too, and they also want to help you. So just by having a good program, and also by having a group of 2 CSMs, and then also by having a group, my time to fulfill isn't actually that much, because the whole group and the whole ecosystem is actually trying to help each other get the results that they're looking for. That's what it is. If you are not at that stage yet, it's completely fine. You just have to create a bunch of resources and good systems and processes, which you can do by creating SOPs. This is what everyone can do, regardless of whatever level that you're at. SOPs, standard operating procedures. These are basically just fancy ways of saying video modules and Google Docs going over how to do a specific thing. If you have a document going over exactly how someone can figure out what their calories are, set up their macros, and just set up everything they need to do. If you have a good video on how to do that and they join, and you're doing that time for every single person, you make a video on it and you just send them to them, and you're like, hey, watch this video, it breaks down exactly how to do it. So in my entire program, it's like I have tons and tons of resources, like literally tons of like information of exactly how I've been able to build this business to the point where it's at right now. So what happens is people are like, holy fuck, like there's so much information in here, so they don't actually have to go anywhere else to get the information that they need. It's like a one-stop shop. And if that information is not in the school or the program, they can just ask me with the unlimited time that they have access to my calendar, and I can point them in the right direction or tell them what they have to do. So it just cuts so much time, and it also saves me a lot of time. So I can then focus all of my time on generating more traffic and then having conversations with new people who are interested in my product. So that's how you have to kind of like look about it. It's looking at it from the perspective of, okay, what type of business do I want to build? How much do I want? How long do I want to be working? Cool. You put a lot of effort initially to make sure that you don't have to work later. So you have systems and processes built out. You get to the point where you maybe have a team member, like once you're making like, decent money. And then once you get to that point, it really just becomes an ecosystem of just consistently getting traffic to the machine and getting money to feed the machine, because it just works. Like people will join and just get results because the structure of fulfillment is so good. People will join and get results from even just talking to the people in the group. I've had guys literally sign clients and work with people just from being in a group of other killers because they're seeing so many people winning it and they just want to be around that. And then also because there's just unlimited access to talk to me, it's like, it's so hard for you to just not get the result. So that's one big thing that I know helped me a lot. And that's also a reason why that I think I don't really work as much hours, because I put my time specifically on that. And then another thing that I do is I just batch a lot of these things. So when it comes to content, I record videos all at once. So it's like today's filming day, I'm recording a bunch of YouTube videos. So and YouTube videos and shorts. So it's like I'll do that for a day, and then the rest of the day I don't have content. I have content for an entire week, and then I can do that again, see what performed, and then consistently do that. Takes me about 3 hours, and then boom, it's out of the way. And then my day for today is like what? I'll show you what my day is like today. I have one call, which is a consultation call. I have another sales call, and then I have a gap of 4 hours, and then have another sales call. And then that's my day. So in between this, I just have to respond to clients to just make sure the business is running smoothly. And that's my day. So it's a very simple and profitable business model, especially if you structure the systems the right way. So that's one thing that I really love about the consulting business itself. And then once you have that thing rolling in the background, literally all it is just consistently, number one, going after your ICP and your persona, consistently getting traffic, whether you're paying for it or you're making really good content to get it, consistently driving traffic to a specific place that shows your offer, which is where you explain how you can actually help people based on the outcome and the persona that you're going after. Then you have a process that gets them to buy, whether you send them to a landing page, you send them to your DMs, you send them to a sales call, and then you convert them on the sales call, and you just do this consistently. And then that's how you can get to the point where it's okay, cool, you want to be able to make, let's say you want to be able to make 30 grand a month, perfect. If you're charging 5K, that's 6 people. So that's 6 people that have to go through this entire funnel out of the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of impressions that you can either purchase, get for free by making good content, or have some sort of like affiliate deals with other people where they promote your stuff and then you get traffic from there. It's like you need 6 people to do this, and 6 people that you've carefully created that have the awareness level and have the persona that you want to go after and also want this outcome. It's the most craziest, simplest business model that I've ever seen. And that's why I truly believe if you have a skill set and you feel like you are genuinely good at what you can do and you can actually provide value to people, it doesn't matter. You can do this. It's not rocket science. I've seen people with no qualifications, guys who used to sell weed before, go into this business and start something that wanted to teach them how they can help people better their lives and make better improvements. And they did it because I know you have a gift. I know you're good at something. And you wouldn't be watching this video up until this point if you didn't feel like you're actually good at something. You just need a way to be able to get this vehicle running and making a shit ton of money, like I've been able to do it for my clients, as you can see on the screen over here. So if you want to become one of them and get to the point where you are making a shit ton of money, guys, there's going to be a link down below that will show you exactly how I help people scale their consulting businesses. You can work directly with me. It's not going to be a sales call. It's going to be with me. I'm not going to send you to like some sort of closer. So talk to me. I can tell you if you actually have potential to do this. And if you do, I'll show you exactly how I can help so that you can build a business like what I've been able to do. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a long one, but I'm sure there's a lot of value and a lot of good nuggets. So enjoy, and I'll speak very soon. Peace.